In this video, we're going to talk about some of the top changes and features to come to macOS Catalina. I think you'll agree that it's a big update. Now a brief word from our sponsor. Intego Mac Premium Bundle X9 has all you need to keep your Mac safe. It includes Virus Barrier, which blocks 100% of known malware, viruses, spyware, and more, while Net Barrier provides a two-way firewall that gives you visibility into when apps try to phone home and violate your privacy. Personal Backup features bootable backups, backing up to another Mac and backup scheduling, while Mac Washing Machine helps save space and keep your Mac running fast and stable. Finally, Content Barrier lends great parental controls to keep your family safe too. Thanks to Intego, a leader in Mac security since 1997, for sponsoring 9to5Mac on YouTube. Use the link in the description to save over 50% off Intego Mac Premium Bundle X9 today. Thanks for watching 9to5Mac. Be sure to thumbs up, click the subscribe button, and then enable notifications with the bell icon so you won't miss any upcoming videos. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about are Catalyst apps, and these are applications, previously iPad apps, that have been migrated over to macOS. Now, the theory behind this whole thing is that iPad developers will be able to check a single box in Xcode, and then magically that application will be ready to go on macOS. In reality, it doesn't work that easily, but there is a nice handful of applications that are already available, and there will no doubt be many more coming down the pipeline. So I think this is a good thing to sort of reinvigorate or add some new life to the Mac. Obviously, iOS and to a lesser extent iPadOS has, garnered the most attention as far as Apple is concerned. So this is, in theory, a good way to reinvigorate the Mac and get developers excited about bringing their applications that they worked so hard on the iPad to the Mac. Now, the jury is still out as to whether or not this will actually prove to be successful, whether developers will really jump on board and support this thing gung-ho. I've tried several Catalyst apps and I have mixed feelings about many of them, but some of them are really good. They show a lot of promise. One such app is, of course, Carrot Weather, which is beautifully designed. Reminds me a lot of the iPad experience, and it translates very well to the Mac. I think most of you guys will agree to that. Other apps that I've tried are sort of a mixed bag at this point, but again, it's very, very early in the game, and I think we have to wait and see whether or not this will actually translate into something special. What do you guys think? What has your experience been like with Catalyst apps thus far? I'm interested to hear your experience, your thoughts on iPad apps running on the Mac. The other really big feature this year is, of course, Sidecar, and that is the ability to use an iPad as an external display like this 12.9-inch iPad Pro next to my 13-inch MacBook Pro. So all you do is go to the AirPlay settings in the menu bar, select your iPad, and it will automatically connect to your iPad wirelessly. It works wired as well, but wirelessly, and function as an external display for your Mac. You can tell how incredibly useful this would be for a MacBook Pro owner like this in this situation here. Say you're traveling, maybe you're editing videos in Final Cut and you need an external display, but obviously you're traveling, you don't have one. Well, this solves that problem. Sidecar is the answer to your issues here, folks. So you can see it works just like any normal external display. And I just have to say that it is impressive, and Final Cut was recently updated with Sidecar support, so that allows me to have my timeline and my browser on my MacBook with my viewer on the external iPad Pro, which is great. So that gives me plenty of real estate, plenty of room to work with editing that video. It is amazing. And the cool thing is that Sidecar is just another app running on your iPad. So you can switch between applications. You can even open up a slide over app like that and multitask. So you have the Safari browser here on top and you're still able to interact with it. It's just kind of mind-blowing, honestly. If you're a traveler, this is a game changer for sure. Everyone who owns a MacBook Pro will probably own an iPad Pro if they're trying to get work done on the go. But the awesomeness with an iPad companion doesn't stop there. There's also continuity, markup, and sketch. So if I right click on the desktop, I can insert from iPad, add a sketch. The markup UI will automatically appear on your iPad, and then you can use your Apple Pencil to draw with. And by the way, you can also use your Apple Pencil to draw within applications on your Mac using Sidecar. I didn't show you that. I'll show you that in a more in-depth video with Sidecar, but that too is awesome. So if you're like drawing with Affinity Photo, you can really get the details with your Apple Pencil back to your Mac from your iPad. So here it is, annotating. So this is the continuity markup portion. So I am annotating right here in real time. Look at that. This PDF, just like that. Now there are several security and privacy enhancements to be found in macOS Catalina. So if you go into the privacy tab under the security and privacy preferences, you'll see things like screen recording, so you can set permissions for that. So if you try to record your screen with ScreenFlow, it's going to ask for permission first. There's also input monitoring. There's also files and folders, speech recognition. Apple has really locked down macOS so that these applications that formerly just had unadulterated access to all these different functions now have to request access, which is a good thing for the user. Now, this is really cool. Probably one of my favorite features. You can authenticate from your Apple Watch, just like that. That is so nice. Now, there's also activation lock, which allows you to lock down your Mac, so if it's lost or stolen, a person will need to enter your credentials in order to activate it. Of course, Apple Arcade is new to macOS Catalina. You also have Xbox controller support, PS4 controller support. This was already supported in the previous version of macOS, but here you actually get a little glyph of the Xbox controller, so that's kind of nice. But the real focus, obviously, is Apple Arcade itself, which is Apple's new subscription service. $5 a month, you get access to lots and lots of games. I don't think all the games that you find on iOS are here on the Mac, but there is still a lot of games to choose from, a lot of quality games at that, such as Sneaky Sasquatch, one of my faves. And there are many, many other titles to choose from. Guarantee there's going to be something for you. Even if you're not a gamer, I'm pretty sure out of all these games, you'll find at least something that you like Hexaflip that I just showed you, or What the Golf, which is, I don't know, this may have surpassed Sneaky Sasquatch as my favorite new Apple Arcade title. This is just such a crazy game. It really puts a different spin on the idea of what it means to play golf. And it's just nuts. That's the best way I can describe it. It really does bring a smile to my face. Just looking at the graphics and the sound effects and the music, it is something else. You definitely should check out What the Golf. It is absolutely amazing. Must try. And like I mentioned, Sneaky Sasquatch, something I promoted numerous times in pretty much every video that I've talked about Apple Arcade. I've mentioned Sneaky Sasquatch, and for good reason. It is a gem among many great Apple Arcade titles. Now let's talk iTunes. Actually, no. Now let's talk the music app, podcast app, and TV app, because iTunes is no more in macOS Catalina. Finally, right? The music app is centered around Apple Music. That is sort of its focal point, but that doesn't mean you can't access your iTunes music or your iCloud music library. You can still do that, but it is centered around Apple Music. That is its main focus. So you get the same Apple Music experience that you're used to on your iPhone or your iPad. So you have the curated for you section, you have the browse section, and then you have the radio, which has things like Beats One and even broadcast radio stations around your local area. Then of course you can search. So I'm going to search here for Utada. I can search my library, or I can search the entire Apple Music catalog, which pulls in all the albums, singles, playlists, music videos. It is really, really nice. So let me show you the library though, because this is where you go to find the media that you yourself have added to your library. It could be over a course of many, many years because this pulls in your iCloud music library as well. So you're gonna find your artists, your albums, recently added stuff, and this could be stuff from Apple Music, or like I mentioned, it could be things that you add yourself from iCloud music library or purchases from iTunes, etc. So here you can see I just dragged and dropped. Is that a word? Dragged? Can I say that? Dragged and dropped. I want to say drug and drop. Dragged and dropped that MP3 over to my library. I can go and get info, and I can actually edit details about the song and even update the artwork if I wanted to do so. The really interesting thing though is you can add to the library. So if I click here, you'll see where it says updating cloud music library. So it's actually adding that to your library so you can access that song that didn't originate from Apple Music, didn't originate from iTunes, right there in your library across all your devices, even your tvOS Apple TV. So that's the really cool thing about Apple Music. If you're an Apple Music subscriber, you get access to that. Now, the music app also gives you access to your lyrics. It also gives you access to Up Next and music listening history, which is a new feature that recently came about on iOS 13.2 and also here with macOS Catalina. And you can AirPlay your music to all your eligible AirPlay 2 sources like a HomePod or your Apple TV, for instance. Now, you haven't seen iTunes Store anywhere just yet, but if you go into preferences, you can actually show the iTunes Store if you still want to purchase music the old school way. It's kind of weird to say iTunes is old school, but it is in the era of streaming. Definitely buying music, individual tracks or albums is old school, but you can still do it if you want to via the music app. Now, let's talk about podcast, the second pillar of iTunes, so to speak. Here, you'll find a similar interface to the music app. You'll see on the left side the Listen Now section, which allows you to just view all the stuff you subscribe to. There's also Browse, so you can find new content, new podcasts to download, and there's Top Charts, which will rank the top podcasts. Then you have your library, which contains all of your different podcasts. You have shows, which shows you each individual show that you subscribe to. Then you have episodes, and then you have your individual podcasts that you subscribe to, and you can hit the info button to view your show notes. You can access all the handy links inside those show notes. There's also the TV app, and this again is that last pillar, so to speak, for iTunes. And you can see the really nice large artwork for each up next item there. If you scroll down under Watch Now, you'll find all the other recommendations and things of that nature. And then you have your Movies tab, which will show you movies from what was formerly the iTunes Store, and also show you movies from other sources, which Apple is calling Apple TV channels, which is sources that allow you to subscribe seamlessly within the TV app. That's not something that's technically new. However, it is very well integrated in this new TV app here. So if you go to TV shows, you can see your CBS All Access. That is one example of the channels. So if you're subscribed to All Access, you get access to any TV show that falls under that umbrella within the TV app. It's a very, very nice thing. However, it can get pricey once you start subscribing to all these different services. So you see there, you can buy or rent from what was formerly the iTunes Store, or you can stream it from Epix if you're an Epix subscriber. Now, there's also a kids section, so you'll see things like Sesame Street, various animated movies and things like that. There's the library, which contains all the content that you quote unquote own. So things you purchase from iTunes, etc. Now, the Photos app, there's something that I really waxed poetic about on the iPad and on the iPhone, because it was such an improvement over the previous Photos app, and it is very much improved here on the Mac, although not to the same degree as what we found on iOS, particularly with video editing. Now, with photo editing, you do have a very robust interface. In fact, it's deeper than what you'll find in some respects on the iOS version of the Photos app. You get a lot more fine-grained, granular control here on the Mac version when it comes to editing photos under adjustments. But with things like filters, you can't change the intensity of a filter like you can on iOS. In the cropping functionality, you don't get all the features that you get on iOS, which is kind of surprising, to be honest. But what's really interesting and sort of disappointing is that you don't get the editing functionality for videos like you do on iOS. At least it didn't appear for me. What are you guys seeing on your version of Photos? All I'm seeing is the ability to trim like we've always been able to do, but you don't get that advanced editing functionality. Maybe Apple's thinking, hey, they have Final Cut Pro on the Mac, you have iMovie on the Mac, you don't need to be able to edit video on the Photos app. You know, I tend to agree. The Notes app gained several new enhancements from iOS 13. That includes the new gallery view, so you get a quick high-level overview of all of your notes. And there's the new ability to drag and drop list items to rearrange your list, like that. And then there's automatic sorting, so when you click on an item to complete it in your list, it will automatically go to the bottom of the list. And then finally, there's the ability to share an entire folder containing all the notes within with your friends, family, or whoever else you want to share it with. Now, the Reminders app got a completely new redesign in iOS, and the same thing's true here in macOS Catalina. For starters, the Smart List feature will automatically organize individual list items by today, by scheduled, or by flagged, and that's super handy for just getting a quick high-level overview of what's going on. And then below that, you have all your lists, so you can go into an individual list, add an additional item, you can rename a list, make changes to a list. And another new feature is the ability to add sub-items to an item within a list. So you simply drag and drop like that, and then you can click the disclosure triangle to collapse those list items. Great for organization. Adding a new list is also different here in macOS Catalina. So now obviously you can name the list, but you can give it a color and you get all these different glyph items to choose from. So I'm going to choose blogging and we're going to add a list item here. And you're going to notice these quick actions here when you add a list item. So I'm going to say write about standing desk, and we're going to make that do. Just click where it says add date. Notice you get these suggestions that allow you to quickly add useful information to each individual item in a list. But you can also group together multiple lists. Just drag and drop one list on top of another list, give it a group name, and there you go. Close the disclosure triangle and get organized. In Safari, you'll find a new start page with Siri suggestions built in. So this is actually a link someone sent me via the Messages app, and it appears right here on my start page. So cool. Screen time makes its debut on macOS. Of course, this is an iOS feature, iPadOS feature. Now it is here on macOS, and that allows you to monitor your usage, app usage, notifications. You can establish downtime, app limits, and more. The new Find My app is a combination of Find My Friends and Find My Devices combined into one, and the really cool thing is that there's new offline finding capability, which uses clever crowdsourced Bluetooth frequencies to help you find your lost devices. Voice control is not to be confused with voice over, because voice control allows you to control your Mac using your voice in a very easy, straightforward way. So once you enable voice control via accessibility preferences, it's going to download and install the voice control module. And then you can click commands to see a whole list of voice control commands that you can use. So I'm going to show you an example here of voice control in action. So it uses my MacBook Pro's microphone. I'm going to speak to it and it's going to follow my lead. So I say open Safari and it opens Safari like that. Then I can say show numbers. And then you say the number you wanted to click on. So 30, so that's going to open 9 to 5 Mac. And then I'll say, hey, show numbers. And then I'll say 62. And then it's going to click on top iPhone 11 Pro features. And then I'll say scroll down. And then I'll say scroll down again. And I'll say scroll down again. And then I'll say scroll up. And it scrolls up. This is really cool. All right, so finally we have Catalina Dynamic Wallpaper. I just wanted to give a shout out to this beautiful Catalina Island wallpaper. It is a dynamic desktop, so that means it will change between night and day as time goes on in your local area. But if you don't want to fool with the dynamic desktop, you can just choose night or day. But I think that looks beautiful. What do you guys think? So ladies and gentlemen, that has been a look at the top macOS Catalina features. What do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comment section with your thoughts and opinions. Also, thumbs up if you appreciate this video and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks to Intego, a leader in Mac security since 1997, for sponsoring 9 to 5 Mac on YouTube. Use the link in the description to save over 50% off Intego Mac Premium Bundle X9 today.